In honor of men's mental health awareness, I am curious. How many are depressed and why? Edit. I am reading all your stories when I get time, and although I will not be able to reply to them all, just know that I wish you all the best. We all have to make the best out of our situations. Some feel like losers. Some feel defeated by life's obstacles and challenges. Others have faced trauma. But I am here to say you can never lose the battle if you do not give up. As cliché as it sounds. Story 1. If I stop working and have nothing to do but be home for more than a week, I go into self-destruct mode. I do nothing, the house is a mess, and I feel terrible to the point that even taking out the trash causes too much anxiety to be around people. Work practically keeps me sane. Story 2. I have spent more of my life depressed than not. Why? Because I am unsatisfied with how little I have accomplished, with who I am, with all the thoughts of how I have disappointed everyone I have ever cared about, and with what my future prospects look like. Story 3. Recently, I started working, really my first job ever, and I'm 24. I've been told people are proud of me. Realistically, just one sister has told me that. Not even my mom has, and she's the one who takes me and works there herself. My sister assumed I feel better within myself now that I've got a job. She couldn't be more wrong in that assumption. I hate it. Not necessarily the work, just the way jobs make me feel. It makes me feel controlled by people who think they get to judge purely because they are managers. The managers I've got don't even know how to run the store but hound us if we make mistakes. I know it's the people who can make or break your experience at work, but I still feel like every job has that hierarchy in place where managers have power and ego over regular employees. It's all such a facade. They don't want to be there as much as I don't want to be, but still put on a character as if they are above me. I just hate workplace dynamics so much. The money isn't enough motivation for me, but I sadly need it to support myself. My mother is getting older and having a lot more trouble working herself, so I've struggled with the idea that I might have to be on my own sooner than later, and I've got almost nothing built for myself yet. I'm young, so I give grace to myself on that, but considering I lost my dad when I was 13, my mother is all I've got. It's been stressful and scary to see her going through what she's going through and feeling helpless to do anything for her. I've been trying with this job to prove to myself and everyone else that I can be and do something. But man, do I really hate having to do any of this. Story 4. I just feel I was built for the wrong world, like an accident. Something that was not supposed to be there, but it is there. Story 5. Oh, absolutely. Just have to do the whole pretend it's all okay and maybe it will feel okay. Every morning I wake up. 30-year-old male for context. I live alone. All my friends have emigrated. I am Irish and things are difficult here, so I don't blame them. My ex of over 6 years left me back in November 2023, and I had an engagement ring to return. I was groped in a nice bar a month later while feeling terrible. I was suicidal and attempted 5 times, 3 via alcohol and benzodiazepine mixing, 1 via nitrogen asphyxiation, and another by noose. The first 4 attempts did not work. During the 5th attempt, the police were called and took me in. After that, I tried counseling, therapy, medication, and self-help, but nothing works. I threw myself into my work, and that has helped a bit, but at 6 p.m. I finish like everyone else. I have gone off the deep end a bit. I don't trust anyone and never let myself feel vulnerable. I was just on a work trip where I actually let this happen with a colleague. She was very supportive and kind about it, but we have not really spoken since. I lost another connection, I guess. I got my first tattoo on my 30th birthday, eat poorly, and vape a lot without exercising much. I used to eat cleanly but do not bother anymore. I used to want a career, to get married, to have a few children, and get a dog. That's all gone now along with my hopes. I hated who I became after my breakup. My ex and I no longer speak after I called her one of the nights I attempted suicide. I carry a lot of self-hatred. I refuse to let myself be confident for fear of becoming arrogant, and I know I do not have much time. I give myself 10 to 15 years before I just book a one-way flight somewhere remote and call it quits. The world is a lost cause in my view, and so am I. I will never own a house or anything, so I am done grinding as I am already dust. I take the good days where they come and try to survive the bad days by reminding myself it will not be forever. I will make sure of that. I still have a noose tied up in my bedside locker. I refuse to love again as I don't think I am worth it, nor do I think others are. Sad because I loved being a boyfriend. My ex told me I was the best thing she or any girl could ask for in a guy, yet she left me all the same. She had her own things to figure out, or so she told me. She probably cheated and couldn't bear to say it. For all I know. I kind of have a crush on a coworker now, but she lives in another country. She is taken and much younger than me, so that will remain a friendship. It's the same woman from the work trip mentioned above. It is not something I will ever pursue. What I can do with the remaining time I have is be there for others and for those I care about. I cannot make myself happy at all, but I can probably add to the lives of people I know now and going forward more than I have subtracted from the lives of those I have lost or removed from my life thus far. So that is what I do. I try to be better than I was before. The old me had to go because it continuously led me down paths of inevitable destruction for those I care about and caused me to lose them. To bring it back, that is why I do the whole pretend it's all okay and maybe it will feel okay routine. It's not for me. It's for the others I deal with in life. I am here for a good time, not for a long time, so I may as well end on a high note in their minds. Peace and love to all. Be better than me. Story 6. I am so depressed that I am literally terrified to talk about it. If I let it out, I might end up with nothing left. Yes, I am fully aware of how irrational that sounds. Story 7. Depression began after a challenging year in the military. After enduring hardships, I returned home, and my confidence plummeted. I needed to rebuild my self-esteem. Unfortunately, my wife found me unattractive without my confidence and gradually became disgusted with me. She cheated and left me. Now, I can find women, but I am constantly afraid that the same thing will happen, and I self-sabotage my efforts. My ex-wife sees me as healthy again and is trying to win me back. However, I am only healthy because I finally realized that I loved her. She loved what I did to make her life easier and how I made her feel. But I deserve more than that. I would rather remain single forever than be with someone who only wants me because I treat them well and help them believe in themselves, without reciprocating their love. Story 8. I feel like the non-depressed individuals will not comment on this thread, which will skew the results significantly. I am not depressed because I have quite a few activities to do, including video games and exercise. At the same time, my heart goes out to the people here. Story 9. 29 years old. It really showed itself after college. All of my friends have moved on. I rarely find the motivation to get out these days unless I am working. Story 10. I have been in and out of severe depression since high school. My parents believed mental health issues were not real, so my problems were dismissed and called stupid. As I grew up, that became my train mentality, and I struggled with significant issues into my 30s. My wife finally convinced me to seek help, and after a few months of therapy, I was diagnosed with a lifelong disorder. I take medication now and probably will for the rest of my life, but the depression about that also creeps in. Furthermore, I do not have the support I need. My marriage is a difficult situation now, and the only thing keeping me getting out of bed and showing up strong is my children. Once they are in bed, though, the depression takes over again. Listen to your children when they are asking for emotional and mental support. Be there. Find professionals. It is not a joke. Story 11. Yes, but I recently took up Muay Thai and boxing as well as working on my career development, going to the gym and eating healthier. I also started going back to therapy and removed what was causing me grief, so it is definitely a battle, but one I intend on winning. Some days are better than others, and other days are absolutely dreadful. Story 12. I'm pretty sure I have been depressed since I was molested at the age of 9. The only person who knows is my older brother. Just typing this makes me cry. I am going to be 70 in a few days, and while I have had happy moments, most of my life I have been emotionally unavailable to the rest of the world. I fake enthusiasm and joy. My wife and I have not had sex in about 17 years. My fault, I suppose. Erectile dysfunction is difficult for us. We tried several things. None worked, and she hates oral sex, it turns out. Nevertheless, I still love her, and I am devoted to her. I can't let her know how bad it is. She depends on me and looks up to me. I don't think I have time to fix anything. I'm never going to therapy. I tried that once and I am not able to talk about my problems. I just eat them like I always have. I am surprised I have typed this out. Before I hesitate, I will post it. Good luck to everyone. Story 13. I am not depressed. I am realistic. Although depression might be a natural response to the state of this world and what we already know about the future, happiness requires delusion. Story 14. I've texted the hotline this week. My wife and counselor show signs of worry. I cut the grass for the first time in 3 weeks because I have energy. I am making this post in my laundry room, in the dark, trying to rotate clothes but got distracted. Story 15. I have struggled with it a lot, especially when I was in my early 20s. Things are much better now that I have done some emotional recovery work. Story 16. Not the perfect answer, and maybe some people will not like it, but it is a truthful take for what it is worth to anyone. I used to get depressed. Then I opened a business and do not think in those terms anymore. If I am sad, I know I need to immediately get over it. It is just a temporary feeling I can overcome by switching my mindset, going outside, accomplishing something, working out, having a drink, meditating, or just pushing it away. I do feel stress, which is similar to depression. I treat that the same way by powering through and moving to the next goal. Story 17. Got the magic trifecta: depression, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and autism. There are days when I would do anything for a chance at a normal brain. Story 18. I was 16 when my mother passed away due to lung and liver cancer from long-term smoking. We lived in a prison-style home with many locks on everything because of my abusive brother. I moved to a difficult place where I met my girlfriend. It was an abusive relationship that took me about 6 years to finally leave. All my friends from high school split up and lost contact after graduation. I was overwhelmed by bills to the point where I would wake up, go to a job I hated, return to an empty apartment I could never afford to furnish, and then sleep for the next day of work. I was never able to afford a vacation or save a decent amount. Throughout most of this time, I was constantly told to man up. Story 19. So yeah, we are on a long holiday over here, which means I have been stuck at home more than usual, and I get to spend time with myself more often. Honestly, after 3 years of constantly going to the office every day, I forgot that whole depressive episode one was avoiding is still there. Now it is hitting me again. I feel pretty lonely. I do not really have friends to call up and hang out with, and the people I work with are all caught up in their own lives. I have been single for 25 years, except for one very short relationship I ended myself, mostly because of my own inability to communicate from all those years of isolation. The loneliness hit so hard that even on my birthday 2 weeks ago, the only people who remembered were my family. Thankfully, they live with me, so at least I did not spend it totally alone. Aside from all the obvious things making life feel unpleasant, there is also a weird emptiness I have been feeling, like I have lost my sense of purpose or something. It is not even new. I have had this feeling on and off since college. Every summer break, it would hit me like I was just existing with no real direction. Honestly, the only good thing about university was that at least it gave me a goal to work toward. Felt like there was a finish line. Story 20. I feel incredibly lucky that I overcame my depression. I was depressed for roughly 10 years. I was under the impression that it was normal to never feel joy since it had been so long since I experienced it. Sure, I would feel okay, but that was it. I was never content. It wasn't until a couple of years ago that I figured out how to be content again. Unfortunately, the solution was not one thing but a combination of several small and some big factors that allowed me to no longer feel depressed. I still have small depressive episodes, but generally, they are short and do not persist for long, which is a huge improvement from never coming out of them. Story 21. I have been diagnosed with major depressive disorder and bipolar depression as exploratory diagnoses, though I believe it is more likely complex post-traumatic stress disorder. I am like this because I grew up in an emotionally neglectful environment, witnessing constant verbal and emotional abuse. I internalized that I was stupid, overweight, ugly, worthless, and a failure. Every success I have is a fluke, every failure inevitable, and nothing I do matters or could matter. I believed the world would be better if I did not exist. It turns out it is easy to be depressed if you believe those things on a fundamental level and have since your teenage years. It is a lifelong condition, and it is very likely I will die by my own hand or indirectly from preventable disease due to not taking care of myself. I would not recommend it. Story 22. I used to be. But I understood my issues and am trying to solve them slowly. Life is unfair and mental health is not easy. But you have to take care of your mental health and physical health. Story 23. A lot of people might not even know. I was fine until I wasn't and in really bad shape. I went into therapy. Don't let it get that far. Story 24. I genuinely am, but I hold on to the light that honey chipotle mozzarella sticks from Chili's give me. Someday things will get better, but today I am eating at Chili's. For real though, I hate my life. Story 25. I am declining steadily and do not really know what to do about it. Nor do I have any motivation to fix it. Story 26. Not depressed or overwhelmed. Everyone has high expectations of you, and many people rely on you. It makes me happy, but at the same time tired. I just need some time for myself, a chance to do what I truly enjoy. Story 27. I mean, what is there to be happy about? I do not have a girlfriend and never get interest from women. I do not have a family due to the previously mentioned reason. I am told every day that I do not matter and made to feel that way by the people around me. I work a job for basically no reason because, as I said, no one depends on me, and I do not have anyone to go out with anyway. Story 28. Diagnosed with major depression. I don't really notice it anymore. It's kind of just constant. I am just a depressive person. Everyone in my life has called me Eeyore my whole life. Story 29. Recently, I went through a difficult year of depression. Getting older, life not turning out the way I expected, and a lack of friends all affected me. A supportive wife, practicing spiritual stoicism, and THC gummies helped me through it. I have also learned to be more open and honest with people. If I do not want to do something, I simply do not do it. If no one wants to go to a fun event with me, I will go alone. Story 30. Nothing brings me joy. I run autonomously, going to work because I prefer to live indoors and eat sometimes. Story 31. I developed it in school. Continued. The year 2020 made it worse and almost ended it. It is chronic, so it never goes away. However, I have developed mechanisms to manage it. Story 32. Yes, and why am I? I don't know anymore, to be completely honest with you. I'm sure loneliness is a part of it, but probably not the whole story. I hate being online, yet I live mostly online. No one can meet up these days or wants to. Story 33. I can get a bit depressed during winter here in Canada. Short daylight. Dark by 3:30. Very cold. Snow and icy slippery pathways. It is a bit of a challenge to get out and exercise. I do not like it. I love the outdoors but not the winter cold. In spring, summer, and fall, my mental health is great. Story 34. I feel like I get depressed in waves. I have days when I can barely get out of bed. But then I have a while when I feel okay, where my head is above water and I can get things done. I try to take advantage of those days. Story 35. That's the way people are. I have cancer now, and you have to fight yourself. People ask but can't wait to tell me their problems. I just laugh now. Think well of yourself as a good person, and things will change. Have confidence. Story 36. Most men hide their feelings because of the challenges they face in daily life. Story 37. 15 years and counting. You learn to defeat your demons one battle at a time. Klingon therapist style. Story 38. Not anymore. A great therapist, amazing friends, a loving family, and a lot of self-effort on my part helped me get out of depression. Great choice of flair, by the way. Trying to stop all the people who react with anger when they see the words Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. The number of individuals who get upset at men and women for simply supporting men's mental health issues is surprising. Happy Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. I hope all men understand how valuable they are to the world. Stay strong, everyone. Story 39. I just went through an awful breakup, found out my mother has cancer, and am getting discharged from the military for mental health issues, all in the span of a month. I was already struggling, but now it is a different challenge. Nonetheless, I keep pushing. Story 40. Severe depression for 3 years. Became depressed during remote work. Marriage and job followed. Has not worked since. Story 41. I have had depression and suicidal thoughts for over 10 years. I have learned to manage them, but they are still present. Story 42. I think there are many men who are depressed but do not realize it. Story 43. Chronic pain and depression go hand in hand. Every day, I wake up and think, I am still here, but I need to persevere. My wife and child need me at least for a while longer. Story 44. I lost my mother 2 years ago. I am going through heartbreak and am currently unemployed. I have just received a 5-day notice from my landlord. Somehow, I still have the strength to keep going. I do not know how I can still smile. Story 45. Some days I feel so awful and worthless I just want to die. But somehow I don't. I've never felt good about myself my entire life. As I am older now, I realize just how much of a failure I am without being able to get anywhere in life. I don't know how long I have, but I am not living much longer, that is for sure. Story 46. I am probably depressed, but I do not know the exact reason why. I know I am slightly depressed because I am struggling to find the will to clean this apartment. Story 47, maybe 50%. But I perk up after a while. I see a lot of stories about people being worse off. I have a job I like, an apartment I can afford, and I just bought a car for the first time in 13 years. I don't have a girlfriend anymore, but she was driving me crazy and trying to make me feel bad about myself, which only increased my depression. So I was happy to end the relationship. Story 48. I was pretty depressed until I realized that the few beers I was drinking every night were keeping me in a depressive cycle. I stopped drinking, and about 70% of the depression and anxiety went away after a month. Story 49. I think so, yes. It is a mix of ego death, accepting the way society is, and realizing how much I have been lied to about things, with money not being much of a motivator. I know I am capable of coming through to the other side. It is just a lot right now. I have been leaning on absurdism to help me get through it. Story 50. Depression for me comes and goes. The seasonal changes affect it for me. Depression never truly leaves or goes away. Thoughts of failures, what ifs, and what could have been come and go. I look at how far I have come from being in the children's home to now. It brings me back to my reality. Depression affects us all differently, and some are in denial. Do the work. It will be painful and sometimes ugly, but you will come through better. Story 51. I got a dog to keep me going. I don't really have much to live for as I feel my situation won't change and my problems will always be there. But I do live for my dog and want to give him a great life. Story 52. Why? Because I have clinical depression. My brain does not work right, and I need medication to help with it. Story 53. Clinically diagnosed? No. But genetically likely? Very much so. The last person in my family to get diagnosed was my grandfather. He had a severe case of manic depression, also known as bipolar disorder. This made people wonder about the rest of the family because no one else had ever sought a diagnosis before. My father also displays mood swings, but not as severe. We have all kind of just decided that the last place we are going to go is a psychiatrist. We do not care if it is autism, schizophrenia, or bipolar disorder. We would rather not know. Story 54. I feel somewhat depressed because many times I do not feel the motivation to start the day. It is even harder considering that as I am getting older, I feel invisible to the women I like. At least I was able to save some money from my last job, although it was only a small amount. Story 55. diagnosed first and foremost with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and anxiety. I am short and a virgin at 27. My grandmother died recently. Story 56. 8 years married. Finally came to an end. Worked 2 jobs, bought us a house, took care of her, my stepson, and our child, 80 to 100 plus hours a week. She had 2 affairs. Lied to police about me being physically abusive. I never even raised my voice. She threw me in jail. I pled guilty to be able to come back home, but she was still involved with her affair partner. She had an abortion for a child we were going to have. Then months later, she had another abortion because she got pregnant by the affair partner. She manipulated and lied to me about what procedure she was getting. Then she came back home, put her hands on me, broke a bunch of things in my house. She moved out. She lied to my son about me being an alcoholic. Now she is trying to get me to adopt her son so she can live worry-free and have a reliable babysitter whenever she needs. She also does not like that I will not be taking care of her son, only mine. But I am good. I just got my dog and am waiting for the divorce to be completely finalized. Story 57. In 2029, this whole decade has been a disaster. I have been unable to finish my bachelor's degree despite trying my whole 20s. I am hopelessly single. My body is emaciated from poor habits and lack of exercise. I work a low-paying job and have no social skills or skills in general. I am just one of those guys who fail in life completely, and it feels like there is no way out. Medications are the only thing that keep me from ending it all. Story 58. I have been depressed basically all year, and I hoped it would get better during the summer, but it did not. I used to suffer from on and off depression, but the past year has been constant. Story 59. I am depressed and have been on depression medication. In addition to clinically diagnosed depression, I likely also have seasonal affective disorder. The lightbox or seasonal affective disorder lamp seems to help to some degree during the depths of winter. Why am I depressed? Beyond the obvious, there are situational factors related to work, social life, and marriage. I have never been a particularly happy person, but when depression set in, feeling much of anything or having enthusiasm for things I previously enjoyed became uncommon. Actually, joy was very fleeting and often much smaller. Story 60. I am 34 years old. Loneliness and an 18-month dry spell make this depression feel like death by 1,000 cuts. I have been talking to God deeply and praying in good faith for a long time, but it feels like I am just talking to myself. I need to soldier through it though and hope. Story 61. I have been struggling for a long time. Cannabis has helped keep my mood stable, thankfully. But every now and then, I go through mental shutdowns where I just sit and criticize myself in my mind. I am 30 years old now, and since I turned 18, I have experienced many manipulative friendships and relationships that made me feel worthless unless I had something to offer. The moment I could not offer anything, I was left alone. I now have severe trust issues because of those experiences. Story 62. Well, in my case, I was an unplanned baby when my parents were older and were told my mom could not carry anymore. As a result, I am the youngest grandson on both sides and have second cousins older than me. In the last 7 years, I have watched both parents, 7 uncles and aunts, and 1 cousin pass away. I have come to the realization that I will possibly outlive all of my relatives. I am single with no children, so I am just preparing for when I am going to exit on my own terms once all my siblings and relatives are gone. Just some advice for older couples. Do not have children if you have a large age gap with other kids and family members. It is likely that child will grow old alone if they never get married. Story 63. I am 43 and depressed. I have always experienced ups and downs, but I have no diagnosis. There is a fair amount of depression among friends as well, so it is common. I am no stranger to therapists and have used them before, but now they refuse to take me in unless I stop drinking. So now I am just riding it out. I function and am not suicidal, so it works. I am used to it. Story 64. I am feeling depressed because my job is unfulfilling and stressful. It also drains my time and energy from my hobbies. I do not really know how to switch to a different job at this point, but I intend to try within the year. Story 65. I don't know about being depressed, but for as long as I can remember, going back to when I was a kid, I have always been at least a little sad a lot of the time. It is just below the surface, and I don't really let on about it, but it is always there. Just this empty, kind of sad feeling that hangs around in the back of my mind. I try not to dwell on it, but it can be good company with the right mix of cocktails and music. Story 66. Been there, doing much better now. All I can say is don't try to be a tough guy and go at it alone. Talk to someone and get some help. I resisted for a long time, but when I finally did, things eventually got better. Stay strong, boys. There is light at the end of the tunnel. Story 67. I think almost half are affected. We just normally don't talk about it or show it. Suffering in silence. I definitely think every man has been, at least once in his life. Sadly, it only takes that one time to never get the chance to get through it. Why? Childhood trauma that we never got over or dealt with. Stress from money and work. Relationships and lack of emotional support. Physical pain and injuries. Life. Realizing no matter how hard you work, most, if not all, your dreams won't come true. Depression is the emotional and physical representation of your hopes and dreams dying. Story 68. I am not depressed. Water ran down my face, that's all. I am not depressed. Women use me for their own emotional benefit, but I am supposed to stay put. I am not depressed. My father disrespects me and is mean to my mom, even when he is the one I have a duty to take care of financially because he did not fulfill his duty to the family. I am not depressed. Society will take advantage of me. I am not depressed. I have hopes and dreams to keep alive, trying to navigate life and what I want to accomplish on my own. I am not depressed. I am grateful that I do not have to needlessly die in a war. I would rather accept the chance I have and try to overcome our government and economy. I am not depressed. I have tasks to do even when I do not feel like doing anything. I am not depressed. I hate half the people around me while I am thankful for them at the same time. I am not depressed. I am a man. Story 69. Yes, I have likely been dealing with it on some level for quite a number of years, maybe even longer before I realized what it was. I am getting therapy once a week when I can. Story 70. Diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. Used to have post-traumatic stress disorder, but it is under control. Life is life. Everyone has battles. Story 71. Sometimes, probably, I just suck it up. I have too many bills to pay, too many people counting on me, and not enough time or patience to do anything about it anymore. Story 72. Depressed. A bit, yes. It is because of the feeling of being used in my previous relationships. It makes me sad in a way that there is a huge hole in my romantic life. Most men are disposable and invisible. That makes it hard, and reading these stories makes it even harder. Cannot ignore it. I do not want to reject the feeling, but it is something that needs to be pushed outwards. Society is not changing. The balance of men and women is out of proportion and will not change. I just accept that life is difficult being a man who wants a woman. Story 73. I have my moments, but I am blessed to live the life I live and have all the opportunities in the world in front of me. It is just up to me how I use them. Once I look back at it like that, it all comes into play, and I know everything will be there for me when it is supposed to. Story 74. I struggled with alcohol and drug addiction when I was younger, which severely affected my mental health. Took a couple of years to stabilize, but now life is amazing. Story 75. If you ask that on a forum, those who are depressed will answer more likely than those who are not. That will result in bias. You should look it up on a better source. Story 76. Capitalism can be challenging. Needing money as much as you need to eat or drink, but not finding employers willing to offer enough hours to live successfully, often leads to a less than ideal mental state. Recently, I received a job offer for a second job that would only provide up to 14 hours a week. I am fortunate to work 20 hours at my current job. Story 77. Lost everything. My business, all staff, my house, my dogs, my horses, my health, any lifestyle I had. My father then died. My baby died. My wife left. I became homeless, nowhere to live, no job, no friends. So I eventually started again. It took years, but I got back on my feet. Certainly takes its toll. You have to be tough if you can. Is that enough? Story 78. I am not as depressed as I used to be. No more running into traffic or hallucinating that I cannot move. Still, I wish I had never been born all day, every day. Story 79. Why? It is the 21st century. There is a difference between being sad about something and having depression. My first suicidal thought occurred when I was 5. Let that sink in. I was in first grade, woke up early one morning before anyone else was up, and realized I had forgotten to color a dinosaur for homework. I went straight to the kitchen and pulled out a serrated dinner knife. The only reason that I did not make the actual attempt was because my mom heard me in the kitchen and woke up. Does that sound rational? Does that sound sad? It is just the way things are. My depression has nothing to do with being sad. I am happier than I have been in a very long time, but I still have severe executive dysfunction issues and I still recognize how pointless living at all is. I am a man who is not hurting at all for money. Story 80. I would have no clue about how many people are depressed. Statistics in my country say it is between 25 and 30% right now, so there you go. The actual number might be higher, though, since there are probably many quiet suffering men unwilling to even admit their struggle. But then again, the actual number might be lower too, since some people have a hard time separating merely going through a tough time from being actually depressed. So that might even it out or tip the scales the other way. I do not know. Why? That differs for anybody, but I would say look around you. Really open your eyes and look around you. Your question will answer itself. There are very few positive people refusing ignorance for good reason. As for me personally, I am unwilling to share right now. It has no use either way. Also, I oppose commercializing men's mental health awareness. Commercializing suffering should never be tolerated. We do not need one of your days, your months, or your years. It is just a way for people unfamiliar with our problems to feel good about themselves. Story 81. I have been struggling with depression since my teenage years. I am 45 years old now. Over time, there has been significant improvement, and it is not as debilitating as it used to be. Story 82. We are always thinking of ourselves as a super machine that cannot show feelings, and if we do, we are treated as weak. Story 83. Men's Mental Health Month is posting the same question every few days. It is starting to remind me that I feel very sad and miserable. Story 84. Totally. I have done the therapy, and I have been on antidepressants. I did not like how they made me feel either. So I suffer in silence until the day comes. I do not want to suffer anymore. I have no idea why I am the way I am. I have everything and want for nothing, but my mind is a war I cannot win. Story 85. Depression is the reason I do not own a gun. However, therapy and medication helped me. I avoided medication for a long time because I did not want sexual side effects, but my therapist and doctor helped me find one with manageable side effects. Story 86. From what I have read, I have the symptoms of depression. Since I have felt like this my whole life, it is just who I am and it is not really acknowledged. Story 87. I am somewhat frustrated by how the weather has been affecting my business, but that is out of my control, so there is no use getting depressed about it. Story 88. My depression comes and goes. It has more to do with life events than anything else. The last 2 years have brought me several deaths of close relatives, including my mother and stepfather. She died on my birthday. My stepfather died about a year and a half later, fighting it all the way. It was exhausting, and I was not even the main caregiver. Story 89. Chronically depressed for 7 years. COVID-19 wreaked havoc on me, so I cannot hold a job, which did not improve things. It also ruined any chance of a relationship. Story 90. I have been depressed since I was a teenager. I am 25 now, and it just gets worse. I have never had more suicidal thoughts than I do right now. They come on seemingly at random, but they are very powerful. Even when I recognize it is just my brain being negative again, I cannot pull myself out of that headspace. Being alone is definitely dangerous for me. I try to keep busy. Story 91. I have battled with depression on and off for much of my life. I am currently going through the worst episode because my wife suddenly filed for divorce while we have 3 young children. Story 92. And why? I recently learned I have low testosterone, which is a strong contender for why I am depressed. Also, gentlemen, if you feel unwell, go get your hormones checked. It could be some form of deficiency. Story 93. I'm quite lucky that I am not very sensitive to negativity. However, past years were not always easy. One of my children is possibly on the autism spectrum, investigation still pending, has body dysmorphia, dark thoughts, and a lot of anxiety. Basically, they never went to school and were very close to being admitted to a psychiatric hospital. This took a toll on my wife and me. I am holding the family together as best I can, but being the breadwinner, providing 2/3 of the income, doing the majority of house chores, attending most weekly meetings with psychiatrists, and providing homeschooling is becoming overwhelming. I have gained a lot of weight and have been drinking a bit more. It has improved since the beginning of May. I am running again and losing weight. However, it remains a challenge for me. Story 94. I do not think I have ever been depressed. I cannot identify any specific point in my life where I qualified for that diagnosis. Maybe it is just a lot of luck. Story 95. Just letting you know that I am all good. Life is great. Summer has finally arrived, so it is warm and sunny. It has been raining almost non-stop since January, which was unpleasant. Story 96. I have no idea if I am or not. The last time I spoke with my counselor from my college, he said he noticed that I am showing early signs of depression. Story 97. I have been depressed for most of my adult life. I feel like I never had good money. The few times I did, it was because I worked 7 days a week. I have no social skills. I can pretend to be normal during initial interactions, but eventually, it becomes obvious I am not a normal person. The worst part is feeling stupid all the time. Life kind of sucks. I have been trying to practice mindfulness, and it has been helping a lot. Story 98. Overall, probably to some degree over some things in my life. It seems to come and go. I am a bit detached from it, so I can see it for what it is, but it still affects my day-to-day life to some degree. Story 99. I am, but I find this question strange. It is almost like studying animals in the wild. It might just be me. Story 100. I am going through it right now because I have bipolar disorder type 2. These last few weeks have been hard. My head feels broken. Story 101. Guilty. I don't have a reason, but it won't go away. Thankfully, I have met a handsome Asian boy who is giving this heart another reason to keep beating. Story 102. I am bipolar and have absolutely no one except support for what I do for work, which is extremely time-consuming and costly, but it is all I have. Story 103. I am taking 150 milligrams of Wellbutrin to help. I went from being borderline suicidal most days to being mildly depressed, which compared to my previous state makes me feel happy. Story 104. It feels only right to share my story since you all have been so brave to do so. I attempted to take my life at 17 with Xanax. Why? Because I was overweight, physically abused for having gynecomastia, and essentially called a waste of space for existing. I deeply felt like nothing was in my control, and from ages 16 to 19, I stayed in isolation, talking only to a handful of people online. My one and only love interest told me she had feelings for a mutual friend who was her best friend. She dated him, and I acted like everything was okay. But deep down, it was not. I bought 2 Xanax pills the following Monday before class in the school restroom. I took them in gym class and woke up 12 hours later in my room to videos of me like a zombie. To this day, none of my friends or family know I attempted to kill myself. In fact, one of my friends brings it up jokingly almost every time I see him after a long time. I am too cowardly to tell the truth as I was in a very dark place and felt like it was my only escape from people. Being told you are a waste of height, bigger chest than my girlfriend, and all other things really tore down my self-worth. COVID-19 was the best thing that happened to me. It felt like a restart button. I was finally able to escape the people who bullied me and still haunt me to this day. But I use it as fuel because if I am to stay the loser they think I am, then they would win. Currently, I have no social media because I do not care about other people's lives they are trying to portray or the newest trend of the week. I enjoy the privacy of people not knowing my past, present, or future. I took action and continue to do so. Although I still have my days, I understand what is on the other side of just staying depressed and not doing anything about it. My problems are trivial compared to yours, but still meaningful in their own way. I truly wish the best for the common person, as we have to stick together and show empathy. Unfortunately, not every guy will share my views, but even if just a few do, then I know that the world is still worth living in. Story 105. Why would they be alone? They might end up a bank robber who gets run over while out drinking with some criminals. Story 106. I have been depressed for 2 years and feel like ending it all. My family is pretty poor, which is not uncommon in my country for families to have limited finances. Some boys I know work hard and support their parents, while I stay home all day and feel sorry for myself. I am much smaller and physically weaker than all the boys in my high school class. I grew my hair out a bit, so I feel like a girl compared to the others. I am very unmotivated and hopeless, which makes me unproductive. I am falling behind in my classes and feel awful for not helping around the house. I feel like the rest of my life will be miserable because I suffer from severe anxiety. When it comes to talking with people, I might manage to talk for 5 minutes with a friend, then go silent because I have nothing to say. My days are not exciting or full of events. They all repeat in a cycle. I often have awful thoughts and hold back tears in class because I do not want to cry in front of others. I hate that this depression does not go away. I might feel good and motivated for 3 days, but then a minor problem causes me to snap, and the next 2 weeks become miserable. This cycle repeats, and I honestly do not know how much longer I can cope with these thoughts. Story 107. Having a difficult toddler running the government has become a real dark cloud in my life. It feels like the whole world is falling apart because it is. We are in serious trouble as a species. If you cannot laugh about it, you will definitely be crying. Having an unintelligent bully at the helm of your country makes it feel much worse. Story 108. Forcing myself to do my old hobbies made me feel better. Now, it is just sadness. Keep yourself and your mind busy. What also helped was living in my car. I did it for close to 2 years. It helped me tremendously. Story 109. Depressed? Not really. I am worried about getting a job, though. I do not have any intergenerational wealth, so if I make a mistake, I am going to fall pretty far down. Story 110. I was diagnosed with depression and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder back in middle school because it was such a huge struggle for me to make friends after all of my old ones went to different schools. I used to take medication for them until high school, which I just stopped taking. I was doing pretty well. Unfortunately, the past 3 years have probably been the worst of my life so far. I probably should go to a psychologist and get back on the medication, but I'm financially struggling. I haven't been feeling very well for a while, which also sucks because I had a health scare a year and a half ago that caused me to develop an anxiety disorder. Even if I don't feel anxious really, I still get waves of dizziness at random times and sometimes forget to breathe. I am trying to hang in there but have been feeling a strange, impending sense of doom coming. This is weird, but I'll keep going. I am 22. Story 111. I feel depressed quite regularly, but I probably hide it behind jokes and smiles really well every day. I am in a constant cycle of barely keeping my head above water with my emotions. Some days I feel just okay, but I know the depression is still there. Other days, I am on the extreme end and want to consider suicide. At least once a week, I feel this way. I have lost count of the times I have sat alone crying. There is a reason I keep a hose pipe in my car because one day I will end it all. I am sure of it. You can ask me what triggers it, but I am miserable in my career. My wife makes my life harder than it needs to be, and my adult children are the same. The list just goes on. My people-pleasing to avoid stress, which leads to depression, is becoming excessive. I have lost faith in most things. Even my hobbies just seem like something I do rather than enjoy. I have tried for the past 15 years to break the cycle, but each year just becomes darker and darker. Nothing really helps. Yet everyone close to me thinks I just have brief moments or episodes. Then I am fine. We men just have to put on the smile and get on with it. Story 112. I've never been depressed by the medical definition, so for that, I feel lucky. Life has ups and downs, and I roll with them. I try not to stay in my sadness long because it really does not help me. Thanks for asking, though. If you are suffering from depression, please reach out. People care about you no matter how much you may think they do not. Find a men's group. This simple action can be life-changing. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.